the head of school, Mr. Munia Pagounder, the school management committee and the manager, Mr. Ramesh Prasad, and of course, our wonderful teachers who have been doing wonderful work in this school. It was quite inspiring listening from the head of school, the amount of work the teachers did in order to prepare the classroom, prepare the school environment with the help of the school management committee, just to make the school environment more conducive for our children. It is inspiring. And I thank you for doing that. I also take this opportunity to thank our teachers, and the head of school correctly stated that even during COVID lockdown, when teachers stayed home, your pay was not deducted despite the calls made by the public that the teachers were at home and therefore the government should deduct the pay. We understood that the teachers were still working from home, and at the end of the day, there is no segregation between teachers and other civil servants. When we say civil servants, you are also civil servants, and if the civil servants are not getting their pay cut, why should the teachers get their pay cut? So that was the basis for our decision, and of course the final reason was that the Ministry of Economy made the decision, particularly Minister for Economy, that we need to pay our civil servants so that the money circulates in the economy and our economy continues to function. Otherwise, if there is no money circulation, then obviously we would have been in a very tight position. But above all, I want to thank the people, all Fijians in this country, along with teachers and ancillary staff, school management committee, for getting vaccinated. If you were not vaccinated, we wouldn't be standing here and having this conversation. Vaccination has done wonders for us. We were one of the very few countries who could very proudly say that we're going to open our borders and our economy is going to get on track. And we all witnessed when the first plane load of tourists arrived on our shores. It was such an emotional moment for those workers who were laid off for months. And these workers worked in the tourism sector. And when the tourists started coming back to our shores, it was certainly a very happy occasion for all of us. But we are not out of the wood. We have to have our guards on. The COVID number is decreasing. Active cases have come down, but it does not mean that we can relax and take a step back. We can't. We have to follow all the restrictions placed by the Ministry of Health. But at the same time, the good news is that class or year 1 and year 2 students, along with ECE, they no longer have to wear the mask. That restriction was lifted. So that's good. Any other child who is facing some difficulty, probably health-wise, the waiver is given for them not to wear the mask. For the students, another good news for you, you'll be going on holiday. I know you want to be in school, but you also need a break. I don't think you need a break, but teachers need a break. Am I right, teachers? So teachers need a break, and schools will be closed for 1 week on 1st of April, and then the schools will reopen on 8th of April. For those of you who are planning your weddings or you are planning some event and you are wondering what are the school terms, let me tell you, term 1 starts from 11th April to 8th July. Term 2 starts from 18th July to 6th October. And then term 3 starts from 17th October to 16th December. Now you can see it's not a normal year, and definitely it's not. We are still dealing with pandemic, so please do not think that we are in 2018 and 2019 when we had our school terms, which we all knew how it worked. But this time around, because of COVID and because of loss of learning, we had to ensure that number of weeks that the teachers need to complete the curriculum must be provided. So that's why there was a change in the terms. I also wish to inform everyone that the exam results will be out on March 17th for year 12 and year 13. And when you return to school on 11th of April, that would be the new school year. In other words, we're going to close the chapter for 2021 and we will open the new year, that is 2022. I wish to also speak on few of the changes that we are bringing about in the education sector, and I think it's very relevant since I am in a primary school. You may have heard that we are bringing in some change in the ECE sector, special and inclusive education sector, as well as primary school. One of the things that we need to do very quickly is to develop curriculum for ECE sector, special and inclusive education. These two areas, we need not just a new curriculum, but we also need policies and standards to be developed. I visited, before coming to this school, I was at Suva Special School, and I heard the plight of our teachers teaching in special schools when they really don't have a set of curriculum. We are talking to our donor partners, particularly the development partners who have been working with ministry, and they are coming on board. In fact, they have come on board to develop this curriculum for ECE and for our special and inclusive education. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that the teachers in this room will understand the reason why we are making some changes from ECE right up to year 13. But I will focus only on primary education. You know that numeracy and literacy is extremely important. You also know that the learning years are when the children are young. They have the capacity, they have that creativity, they have that potential to discover. So we don't want to lose that age. And therefore, from ECE right up to year 3, we will be removing exams, where you'll be placing students who came first, who came second, and who came last. Exams will be taken off, but that does not mean that you cannot do your own internal assessment. You can do the internal assessment without placing position. We live in a different time zone. Gone are the days when nobody talked about counseling and psychosocial support. Just after pandemic, we have been providing training to our teachers on psychosocial support. We have got counselors available, and counselors can not only counsel teachers if they need it, but also to our students. But can you imagine the stigma we create at such a young age by telling a child that you came first and unfortunately you are the last one in the class? And the situation becomes worse in our society, particularly when we are in our community. Then we always very proudly ask the other mother or the other father, my son came first, and what about your son? Comparison starts. So we don't want to create this unnecessary pressure on young minds and create this stigma which they carry throughout their life. Internal assessment will happen. Teachers should know the weak area and what are the weaknesses or the strength, and they can work on the child, but not necessarily that you need to place them in an order of smart to least intelligent child. That needs to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also introducing our numeracy and literacy curriculum for the primary school. It will be rolled out in the new academic year, and this will be simply for trial purposes. We will be introducing our civic and moral education for our children. Civic and moral education is again very important, but everything focuses on how the teachers teach. If we're going to be very traditional with our chalk and talk style, we won't be able to achieve the same outcome. And all this training will be provided by DFET, and I think they have already started working on workshops that are training the trainers, and that will filter down. For your information, we just recently launched Teachers Helpline, and I'm very pleased to say that teachers have already started using the Teachers Helpline. We have received, in the first week itself, more than 35 complaints, and that's when I checked with the person handling the Teachers Helpline. And you also know that we have also introduced Teachers Talanwa platform. This is for your professional discussion that you want to have either with the ministry or within with your colleagues. So that is the reason why we introduced the Teacher Talanwa platform. Regarding some of the things mentioned by the head of school, I will be addressing that not publicly, but during my management meeting, one-to-one. And there are other things that I would be talking to the teachers during Teacher Talanwa session. Right, so I will not cover that now. But I do take the opportunity to thank the School Management Committee, and I pay my deepest respect to the past and present School Management Committee, including the Mothers Club, for their great contribution to our community, to our society. And we acknowledge and accept the fact that the schools belong to the School Management Committee. And in fact, the school belongs to the community, and the School Management Community or Committee is the conduit between the ministry and the community. Right, so the School Management Committee plays an important role, extremely important role. And I will be discussing with the School Management Committee, with the school handbook that we have introduced, and some of the things in the school hand management book, and the reasons why it was introduced. But finally, before I conclude, I just want to say that, ladies and gentlemen, some of the changes that are coming in Ministry of Education, as you may have heard from the critiques from day one, when the Ministry of Education was trying to open the school, there were a lot of people criticizing that, oh, don't open the school, this and that. But you talk to the children, what are they saying? They want to be in school. You talk to other parents, what are they saying? They also want to send their children to school. Then who are you and I to stop our children from their education? And we made the decision that the schools will be open, and we will leave the decision with the parents. And I can tell you from day one, our attendance have been very good. More than 70% of parents from day one, they've been sending their children to school. We have already lost time. There has been a learning loss over 9 months, and we cannot close our school, put it under lock and key, and simply say, okay, it's fine, the children can be at home, and when they come back, we'll deal with it. You can't. If you pick up reports from UNICEF, you pick up reports from WHO, when you collect the data from the rest of the world, it's very clear that unfortunately the last 2 years has been terrible for our students, and there is no way, absolutely no way, we're going to recover the learning loss, no matter how hard we try. Because it's not just the learning loss, it's also that mental support children need, that social support children need. You always see how children behave in a classroom or even outside in the playground. They love to talk to their friends, they share their lunch with one another, and this is the place where we encourage the social and mental development. Keeping at home is not the solution. So again, I want to thank the parents who believed in it and they sent the children to school. And similarly, the changes that we are bringing about in the education sector. Critics can say what they like. The point is, these decisions are not made overnight. It's just that people don't read reports. They're not up to date with the research. They don't read, and therefore, because you don't know, you are very good at giving opinions and criticizing. Let me tell you, there are two documents that the ministry is using. One is the Education Commission Report 2000, which was a well-consulted document. And it cost the government then more than $500,000 to produce this document. And then we have National Development Plan, again, another consulted document. So are the critics going to just ask for consultation? When will they ask a question about the implementation? And what we are doing is precisely from those two documents, right? Because some of the recommendations made in that document, till today, it is still valid. Because if you look at the 20th century and 21st century, what happened in 20th century? In 20th century, the focus was on environment. If you remember, we had this Brundtland report that came out, and that's when environment issues really took off. Each and every country, they were setting up the environment department and ministries. There were a lot of environmental issues being discussed at that time. Along with that was the social justice. Human rights issues were discussed in 20th century, and each and every government were making changes to their policies and processes. But when we talk about 21st century will be known for, in my view, if I take minimum number of issues, it will be the pandemic and therefore the health crisis, whether it's through COVID-19 or it's through NCD, still a health crisis. And the second one is the digital era, the technological change, which is the main disruptor in this world. And if we do not buckle up, if we do not get up and say that, yes, we need to take that direction, we will be left behind. We will be left behind. We have to understand that the children of this day and age, they are tech savvy. They like technology. So you cannot bore them, we cannot bore them with a very strict, tight curriculum, all exam-centered, and then delivered in a very traditional manner, which is rote learning. We need to be innovative, we need to be creative, we need to push the old style, we need to move forward so that we become more relevant for our children. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, Vinaka Vakalevu, thank you for listening. Dhanyawad.